Thank you for watching my video. My name is Mr. Charles Wenike. In this video tutorial, we are going to discuss passive component in electronics. This passive component in electronics, it will have a series of videos, video 1, 2, 3, and 4. It has series 1 to 4. Before we proceed with that, let's differentiate difference between passive and active in electronic components. Electronic components are classified in two categories: active and passive components. Components which produce the energy in the form of voltage or current are called active component, and component which stores the energy in the form of voltage or current are called passive component. I want you to understand something here. There is two different names altogether. It has one is active while the other one is passive. Active, what it does is to produce voltage or current it produces energy in the form of voltage or current, while passive, which stores energy in form of voltage or current. Now there is two differences: productions or produce or generate, and storage of voltage or current. There is two different terms altogether. Storage is different from production or generate. So the area that we are going to discuss right now is all about passive. In this passive, I have said this before, it has a series 1 to 4. Now there are electronic components. It has active and passive. Here in passive component, it has transistors, integrated circuit bin ICs, logic gates, operational amplifier. There are other ones as well. In terms of passive component, it has resistors, capacitors, inductors, diodes. But diodes is not only in passive. Diodes can be used in active as well as passive, all depending on what you are about to use diode for. Unsuitable circuits. Unsuitable circuit, here I am trying to explain here is, what I'm trying to explain here is, without a passive component, our laptop, handsets, television sets, CD, and so on and so forth, it won't work perfectly the way it's supposed to work. So it means that passive electronics device or component is very important. Without it, in each of those things that I mentioned in our motherboard, that motherboard will not work completely, or it will be unsuitable circuit. Passive component definition. Passive components are electrical components that do not require any form of electrical power to operate. Passive device or components do not generate or produce energy, but can store it or dissipate it. I have said this before. The function of passive component, they only stores energy in forms of voltage or current. They do not generate or produce energy in forms of voltage or current. They only store it. Passive electronic components are components that consumes energy and is incapable of power gain. And they simply absorb energy. They always have a gain less than 1 unit. Therefore, passive device cannot generate, oscillate, or amplify an electrical signal. I want you to understand something here. There is difference between passive and active. Here in this series, I want you to understand that the function of passive component, the most important thing that they do is they store energy in forms of voltage or current. They as well consumed energy in form of voltage or current in our motherboard. I don't want to use that word, circuit. Our motherboard is our laptop, our handsets, our television sets, all those things, they are all made up of electronics components. And if in our electronics, which we are using today, if there is no active component on it or in it, it means that that component is unsuitable. It won't work. So in that case, they are what? Incapable of power gain. They don't have the ability to give out. What they do is to absorb, as in take in energy in forms of voltage or current. And they always have a gain less than 1 unit. Example of passive components. Passive components are the main components used in electronics, such as resistors, inductors, capacitors, autocoupler, diodes, and so on and so forth. Transformers is also there. I will also treat all these things that I have already mentioned. I will discuss on resistor, inductors, capacitor. I have already made a video on autocoupler series. So maybe if you like to watch the video on autocouplers, you go to my channel, Charles Electronics, on YouTube. You will see it there. All these examples that I mentioned, that I just called now, resistors, inductors, capacitor, autocouplers, diodes, transformers, which together are required to build any electronic circuit or motherboard. You can call it circuit, you can also call it a motherboard, all depending on what you are intending or what you are about to build. Types of passive components. There are two types of passive components. One is dissipative and two is lossless. I repeat, there are two types of passive components. One is dissipative and two is lossless. An example of dissipative is a resistor, which does not have the capability or ability to absorb power from an external circuit. You can call it circuit, you can as well call it motherboard. It means that a resistor does not have the capability or the ability to absorb an energy, and that energy could be a voltage or current. It does not have the capability to absorb an energy from an external circuit or external motherboard. That is the example of dissipative passive component. In terms of lossless, lossless does not have an input or output power flow. Examples of this lossless are transformers and capacitor. You know, there is difference between capacitors and transformer. You will always find transformer, though there are types of transformer, but the transformer that I am going to discuss is called auto transformer, because we have various type of transformer. I will discuss a transformer, the one that will take in AC, the one that can be used in AC, and the one that can be used in DC. Is the same thing applicable or applied to capacitor? There are some capacitors that we can use in AC as well as in DC, but there are some capacitors that we can only use in AC, not in DC. It's the same thing. So in that case, what I'm trying to explain here is they don't have the capability of input or output power flow. In terms of them, the examples are capacitors and transformer. Let me explain a little bit of these two examples of lossless. In transformer, we have auto transformer. We also have types of auto transformer. The types of auto transformer, the one that is used in AC, which you will find it in stabilizer. You will find the AC aspect of auto transformer in stabilizer. While the one that normally use DC, you will find it in electronic circuit, which you can see it in television sets, laptop, and every other electronics gadget. But mostly, if you might have seen a stabilizer, you will see a gigantic something that is inside of that transformer, and you will see some cables they connected to it. That one is called auto transformer AC. We have auto transformer DC and auto transformer AC. That one is called auto transformer AC because they take in direct AC and they cannot be using DC. While in terms of capacitor, just as I said before, they have the one that can be used only on AC. They also have the one that can be used only on DC. But there are also in the same capacitor where you can also find the one that you can use both in AC and DC, all depending. Passive component control complex circuit. How can a passive component, a passive component control a complex circuit? What do you understand by that word, a complex? As in, before you start building any electronics, the circuit, you must start from somewhere. Though I don't want to go into explanation of a complex or whatsoever, but I want you to understand that that word complex, it means that the circuit is more than one, because there are different circuits that comes together to form a large circuit. In our television, it's not just only a single circuit that forms it. They combine different circuits, active, passive, they come together, they form a large complex circuit. So in that case, what I'm trying to explain here is a passive component, they control a complex circuit. A complex circuit in terms of, I want to use a television set or a television motherboard as an example. If in a situation a capacitor is not working, you will see that that capacitor, that very motherboard or that very television set, it will not on. There must be an issue, and that is where you will now, or you can call on the technician to come and check on your television. So I want you to understand that a passive component, it controls a complex circuit. A complex circuit is not just a single circuit. A complex circuit is just as a country. Let me just use Nigeria as a country. We have in Nigeria, we have a 36 states. So in that 36 states, we have a president. So the president is the number one man of Nigeria. If there is anything that happens, other nations will call on that president before the president will now reach to that particular state that event take place. And that is the same thing that a passive component, how it works. That is how the passive component work. They control a complex circuit, and they provide some forms of feedback. Some forms of feedback. What I mean by the feedback is, if in a situation Obama call our president, what is happening to so and so states, then the president, it is either he call on the state governor, then the state governor will now call on the security agency, and if there is anything else, the state governor will now give the reply to our president. Our president will now call the person that call him, being the US, the president, or whosoever. So that is what I mean by it provides some forms of feedback. But they cannot multiply a signal more than one, because they have no power gain. Passive component in bidirectional. Maybe some persons or some people will be confused. What are you saying about bidirectional? Bidirectional in passive device are bidirectional component that is, they can be connected either way round within a circuit or motherboard, unless they have a specific polarity, just as a capacitor. Capacitor, it has a polarity, but not all capacitors that have a polarity. And the example of the capacitor that have a polarity is electrolytic capacitors. They have a polarity, plus and minus. In that case, the polarity is determined by conventional current flowing from the positive to the negative terminal. Positive is from right hand to left hand. The current will flow from the right hand to left hand. That is what I mean by bidirectional. Bidirectional is a situation, maybe A capacitor that does not have plus and minus, they don't have a polarity, which it can be connected in bidirectional aspect. You remove, for instance, we have a mica capacitor. A mica capacitor does not have a polarity. So if the mica capacitor is bad, you can remove it and connect it whichever way at all that it pleases you. It will still work very well. That is what I mean by bidirectional. Directional. Passive devices are positive in value. Passive devices are positive in value. The component values of passive device, such as resistance in ohms or capacitance in farad, are always positive in value. And you know what it means by positive? Positive is plus, while negative is minus. What I'm trying to explain here is a passive component. They are always positive in value. They are always plus. That is what they mean here. Positive component or device, they are always positive in value and never negative, though some components may have a negative coefficient. There is a difference between a negative coefficient and a negative value. In both electrical circuit theory and circuit analysis, passive devices are generally called electrical elements. So in this case now, we are going to discuss three most common basic passive electrical elements, namely resistance, capacitance, and inductance. We will discuss it one by one. Thank you for watching my video once again. Please, if you find my video useful, subscribe to my channel, comment, and like. Thank you once again. See you in the next class.